So that's the whole kit and caboodle of what I started with. So we've been recording this whole time, but I'm going to cut all that out. I just want you to know that there's no like
Whatever, dude.
Yeah.
You can put in whatever you want. I don't care.
Yeah, awesome. I guess I'll just introduce you, man. So, welcome to the Steve Fusil Show. I am Steve Fusil. Very pleased to bring a dear friend of mine for many, many, many years, the late, wonderful, big, bad Mama Jamma, Dan Dillingham. Dan, welcome to the show, man.
Thanks, Steve. I appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me, brother.
Yeah, man, it's an honor, man. I always looked up to you. I did.
Well, you're the only person.
Well, I know, because I'm just this much shorter than you. Right.
5'7". That doesn't happen very often, bro. I guarantee you.
I feel the same way, man.
It's
right.
a short list.
Well, this is kind of, I think, what happened. I looked and I was like, when I met you, and we can tell that story later, but when I met you, I was like, oh, okay. So this guy and I look similar in stature and in height. And if this guy can fucking do it, I can fucking do it. You know what I mean? So
I tell people that shit all the time. If I can do this, anybody can. Because I'm sure as hell not the sharpest tool in the
that's
shed,
right.
bro.
No, you're pretty
For
sharp,
sure.
man. You're pretty sharp.
I'm just lucky, man. That's all. Right
We're all
place,
lucky.
right time.
That's right. We're all lucky, man. Right? Made the right moves, some good decisions, and figured it out. So just to kind of give a timeline of this thing, we are coming off the heels of a fucking terrible loss in the playoffs. Right, as a Dallas Cowboy fan, is that fair to say?
Yeah. It's been a rough 24 hours.
So I was driving over here a few minutes ago, and I thought, how do I want to open this show? How do I want to, let Dan feel comfortable? How do I let this audience know that this guy's worth listening to, that I'm worth listening to? And so I thought I'd just ask you or invite you to share a little story about your experience as a Dallas Cowboy kicker, if you can recall that story.
Wow. Yeah, man. I don't know how much of this stuff we can really share on here, bro.
Why don't we give the Cliff Notes?
I'll
Let's take the
I'll
Cliff
give the
Notes
really
version.
short version. So back in the day when I was a finance director for a pretty big store here in DFW.
Right.
I think I was probably 27, 28, 29, maybe 30 years old.
Right.
One of the guys I ran with happened to play on the Cowboys for quite some time. We happened to run around with some of the Cowboys. He's got some friends who were still in the NFL at that point in time, so they used to run around with these players cards, right?
Right.
These players cards were freaking awesome, dude. That was like a get in and it, anybody that whatever you want, dude.
Especially in this city.
If there was a line in Dallas and you had a player's card, there was no line.
No line.
I mean, it was awesome. So we all walk in there, and I am clearly the smallest person in the group.
Yeah.
So they decided that I was the kicker, and that's how they were going to introduce me to everybody that we met throughout the night was, this is our kicker. He's our kicker.
Because you're the right size.
XYZ NFL team, right? Insert that team here with whatever player you had going. And, dude, it was quite a blast. We did that for a while, and it was a good time.
Yeah. So
we had a good time.
That's exactly.
I forgot about all that shit.
Oh, I don't
dude.
forget
God
anything, buddy.
damn.
I'm like a deviant elephant. You know what I mean? I remember all the hell and all the heaven. So,
Yeah, man. Yeah, man.
So that's my man Dan Dillingham, right? On top of being fun, you've got a bunch of talent, and that's what's cool. You got a ton of experience in this business that we're in also, which is sort of unique to most people because most guys don't get the opportunity or even foresee the idea of having the opportunity to move out of that retail space. Right.
Yeah, I mean, dude, I've been so lucky to work for some really freaking fantastic people, right? I mean, started selling cars in 93, one at a time at Carl Malone Toyota, worked for a guy named Bob
Did you
White.
say Carl Malone Toyota?
Carl Malone Toyota.
Like the Carl Malone?
Like the Carl Malone.
I didn't know he had a store in Dallas.
No, that was in Albuquerque.
Okay, in Albuquerque. That's right. That's right. I forget you're an Albuquerque guy.
Started in Albuquerque. Pure fluke. Nobody cares about the whole story, but, I was tried to be a professional golfer, failed at that.
Yeah. I could have attested to that. I've seen you play.
Failed at probably a couple other things, and ended up in the damn car business, right? So, but working for people like Bob, who's a dear friend of mine still, Andy Madsen, who was our GM, just got to learn a lot, right? And the car business in 93, let's face it, is not the car business in 2023. It is a completely different animal,
right?
But then going through the ranks, doing the things that I've done, going from salesperson to finance director I was a finance director at a really large store at a very young age here in DFW. then got lucky and ended up at E-Lead, right? I mean, I guess, gave kudos to Bob. Got to give, another Bob Shows, who was my GM forever and ever. Super, super phenomenal guy, phenomenal general manager, taught me a ton at the Honda store. And dude, I got to do everything for him, right? If the new car department was broken, I was the new car director. If the used car department was broken, I was the used car director. The finance department's broken, I'm the finance director.
You're a standard like Adams wedge utility wedge.
Right.
You're like the Adams utility wedge. It's not a putter, it's not a chipper, it's not a sand wedge, it's not a lob wedge. It's like it's all that.
Yeah, it's like shit's broke, insert Dan, right? Here we go. And then when shit's fixed, it's like shit's broke over here. I'm like, wait a minute, I just got this fixed.
Right.
Right. But it's it's all the people that you surround yourself with. It's not me. It's sure as shit not me.
Right.
Then you move on to E-Lead. Phenomenal career there, right? I mean, that job was a freaking accident. Mark Queen hired me. I had no intention of staying. Ended up staying almost 18 years, being a VP, running the sales. Just all great stuff, right? Yeah. Which led me to where I am today at Dealer Alchemist. And things are good, man. So, yeah, I'm a little all over the place.
You said something that made me really think about, kind of where this conversation can go. But like the car business of the 90s is not the car business of today, right?
Oh, no doubt.
I know the differences, but there's a lot of young people listening, trying to figure out what their path in the car business is. And that's sort of the idea of, this show. Like, what is my path and what does my career look like in the car business? What are my opportunities? How do I find them? How do I seek them? That's kind of what I want to bring to the table. And so what do you think the biggest, well, that's a stupid question. I mean, there are a billion differences like between the 90s and that, right? I mean, I started the car business in 1994, man.
Yeah. So, right. Yeah. We're the same age, right behind me.
Yeah. I'm 47.
Yep.
I started this thing on a whim. I've told this story before, but I was roofing. I didn't want to go to school. I didn't give a shit about school. I was way too smart for school until I realized way later that I was not nearly smart enough for school. It should have been.
No doubt.
There are a lot of pathways that I wish I would have taken, or even while I was making the money as a young person and just finished up some degrees and some stuff. And I've got my associate since then, which is kind of cool. But
good
and
for
I may
you.
finish
Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks. I may finish a bachelor's one day just for habit, but I think it'd make my mom happy. But there's a lot of pathways you don't realize that those doors are open. But in the car business, it was accidental. Like I was roofing. I was making $13 an hour. So I mean that's big money. 1994. I mean,
oh yeah, dude, it was all the money in the world at 20 years old.
It wasn't bad. And so I lived in my own apartment, had my own car, paid my own bills, didn't need money from anybody really. And I went and listened to the radio one day to tell the shortest version of it, and the DJ was like, "It's going to be 107 today," and I was like,
"Get on that roof,
today's the day I don't roof anymore, man."
Start stripping shingles, brother.
We ain't doing this, brother. We ain't doing this. The bottom of my neck was more tan than the top of my head because it's like reflective. So, anyways, I got the car business, and I went to actually this ties into something. I went to like 50 stores to try to get a job. Nobody would hire me. I mean, my clothes didn't match. You know what I mean? I'm wearing polo boots, corduroy pants, a tie. That's like, I thought everything was polo, so it worked.
Yeah.
Incorrect.
So
yeah, right. I didn't know what the fuck I was doing, man. So, but this ties into something that you and I can do. And you may remember this. We were in McAllen Toyota in McAllen, Texas, doing an E-Lead deal. There was a guy there I think his name was Joel Flores, if I ring a bell, if I remember. Mustache, standard looking, looks like he should have like the pointy cowboy hat and boots on him. He's a great guy. Well, he worked in Austin, Texas at Apple Toyota eons ago, 94, 93, something like that. And he told me, he said, "Look, kid, you're a nice kid. I'd like to hire you." He's like, you just don't have any age on you, man. Like, I don't think you can do this. You know what I mean? You don't look like you've ever been anywhere, and I was like, "Look, I can do this." And he's like, "Listen, I'll get you a job in the make ready department, right? Start out there. Give me 6 good months. I'll move you up here." And I said, "Are you talking about washing cars?" And he's like, you don't fucking know me, bro. I don't wash fucking cars. I don't wash my own fucking car. I'm 18 pouring. I don't wash my own fucking car, man. And he said, "Yeah, man, I'm talking about washing cars and stuff, getting the lot ready." I said, "Listen," I said, "what's your name?" And he was like, "Joel Flores." And I said, "You're the manager here." And he said, "Yeah." I said, "I'm going to tell you something. One day, you're going to wash my fucking car. You understand?" And I left. And I was depressed because I think that was the last store I knew of in Austin, Texas.
Right. You burned all the rest of them already.
Trying to get a fucking
I've been to
job.
every dealership on the planet.
Fuck, man. So I'm driving by and I see this dealership. It's Bill Monday, Pontiac, Jeep Eagle, GMC, Hyundai, and used cars, right? I didn't even know this place fucking existed, right? But it turned out it was a half mile from my house. Never saw it. So they were building this freeway construction, whatever. I go over there and I get a job. That's another great story, but I'll let that go. Fast forward 12 years, 13 years, whatever. Steve Fusil, Dan Dillingham are sent down to McAllen Toyota. And you know who the fucking new car director is?
Joel Flores.
Joel fucking Flores. That's right. And so we had Toyota Camrys to drive that day because we stayed at a Best Western next door.
I think we did.
So I remember I came back and it was like the second to last day. And I was playing. We'd kind of, because you know the deal, man. They don't love you when we're walking in there.
Oh, no, sir, Bob.
Fuck these guys. Experts my ass. Get the fuck out of my desk. Get the fuck out of my store. We don't need you here. You're not welcome,
Yep.
So by day 3, day 4, we're usually in there like swimwear. They liked us, We earned our keep.
All bullshit stops when you throw down a deal that makes about $4,500 on the front.
Correct.
And this is when you didn't make $4,500 on the front because selling cars the last 2 years wasn't selling cars.
Right. Hugh was smart enough to hire listen, for whatever we lacked, we could sell a car.
Yeah. I'll never be broke, bro, because I can always take ups.
That's right. That's right. So I told Joel Flores, I said, hey, man, look, I said, it was a little rainy last night. I said, if you don't mind, man, do you mind if you get these, if you can get my demo washed or whatever, my loaner washed? And he said, yeah, sure, man. So he came back and he handed me the keys. And I told him, I said, you don't remember this, but 1994, I told you. And he said, that was you? He said, I remember you, dude. You were like walking out telling me like, fuck you. And he's like, that was you. I was like, yeah, it was me, motherfucker.
Right on.
I told you, motherfucker. I told you you'd wash my car. So that was.
I had forgotten about that story until you just said it. Yep, I remember that. In McAllen, Texas.
McAllen, Texas, man. There was a great restaurant that we went to there that night. It was fun. Well, it was a great restaurant. They had great Mexican food down there, man. Yeah, yeah.
Well, hell, I grew up in Harlingen, right down the road.
That's right. I forgot that.
Yeah.
I went to MMA there.
Yeah, well, how long did that last?
A year. I did a year. I did a year at MMA. The greatest part about that place is that everybody wanted to run away. Everybody. This is for people listening. It was the Marine Military Academy, and you were sent there because you were a rich kid whose parents didn't want him from Saudi Arabia, or you were a pain in the ass to your parents, and they had enough money to get you the fuck out of the house.
That part,
right? So I was that part, right? I'm not Saudi Arabian. So, but the part about that sucked was if you it was right next to the airport. Right, like our campus butted up to the airport.
Oh yeah, it's right there.
And so every morning,
Iwo Jima Monument's right there.
Iwo Jima Monument's on our. That's right, on our property. So we were there, and brother, every morning 5 a.m. you're out there doing push-ups or doing the whole PT thing, getting ready for the day, right? And on gravel, man. Like before you even eat, your hands are covered in dirt and like rot from the. It's great way to live at 14 years old.
Yeah. Good morning, son.
Yeah, good morning, son. This is the repercussions of your choices. You know what I mean? Like you earned this, pal. And you'd hear the car alarms going off and the planes taking off. And I know that every single one of these fucking kids is sitting there going, I want to get on one of those fucking planes. Yeah, I just want to get the fuck out of here, man.
Yeah, I just thought I hated my house. Now I love my house. Can I come back, mommy?
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
Mommy, daddy, I'm sorry.
Oh man.
Yeah, that part.
So, let me ask you a question from a dealer's perspective and a consumer's perspective. Obviously, there's a lot of differences getting trying to pull this puppy back in, but and you can the data. Like, is the profit more now than it was before? I mean, back in the 90s. I mean, I know it was the Wild West, but I wasn't really paying too much attention back then. I was just trying to eat, And I mean, I think you moved up a little faster than I did. So, like, if we looked at the data from the 90s versus the now, I mean, where does this gross profit sit front and back end on a car deal? Like, what's it look
you're
like?
talking about, man, you're talking about two totally different worlds,
For
right?
sure.
I mean, you got when I was at the Honda store, if we could get to 2,500 front and back on new, we were freaking tickled, right? And same thing with used cars. We had 2,500 total. We were thrilled and over the freaking moon, but we were selling 850, 900 cars a month. I mean, we were super high volume, right?
Yeah.
So there's still
That's a lot of Toyotas, man.
Hondas.
I mean, Hondas.
Yeah.
That's a lot of Hondas,
Yeah,
man.
I sold Toyotas to start off with in Albuquerque, but I moved to Honda as soon as I came down here.
I didn't like that.
What's that? Honda?
I hated import stores, man.
It's all I ever did. I worked at
deal.
one of the Chevy stores here in Dallas that everybody in the car business worked at for at least 30 days. And I made it 30 days because, of course, like me, alligator mouth, hummingbird ass, right? So I'm not smart enough to keep my mouth shut and cash a paycheck, at least back then. Now I am. Watch me.
Right.
Watch me. Now
Watch
I'll
me
cash
shut
checks
up.
with the best of them. But at 30 years old, fuck no, dude. If you were wrong, I was going to tell you you're wrong. I didn't care if your name was on the building.
It
or your
didn't
daddy
matter,
owned the
did it?
store.
It didn't matter. It didn't matter.
So
Oh, man.
anyway, but you know, gross profits, yeah, totally different freaking world, man. I was at a Nissan store, you know, talking about the 2500. It's funny that you asked that question because this literally just happened like a week ago.
Okay.
Right, guys running $3,300 a copy on the front on new Nissans, and he's like, "Fuck, I was running $6,000 90 days ago." I'm like, "What in the actual shit? Are you kidding me?" Right? I mean, it's at a Nissan store, which, you know, anybody who was at a Nissan store even 7 years ago.
Yeah. I was at Nissan.
If you could get that bitch to $1,000, you were tickled.
That was the only
right?
import that
So-
I worked at that I liked. It was the only import I liked.
You know, anyway, it's just a different animal, dude. It's just
Yeah.
a totally different. The car business is different. The people are different. The consumer is different. You know, back in the day when I was selling cars, you hated the guy that walked in the door with the Consumer Reports magazine, right? I mean, that was the dude
You're
that
right.
walked in.
Yeah.
And you better have your own Consumer Reports in your own damn dashboard so you can combat whatever he said.
And you better not be full of shit.
And God forbid he
Right.
brought in the fucking buyer's guide that looked like, you know, 2 Bibles or a dictionary stacked on top of each other. You know, because that guy did all his damn research,
All
right?
of
This
it.
is all, folks, it's pre-freaking internet, right? I mean, this is back in the dial-up days. But anyway, it's just everything's so different, right? You got, you know, you just went through a shortage of inventory. You got dealers now who are starting to get inventory on the ground. Front-end gross profits are starting to change. It's not just an order deal. I mean, the car business today compared to the car business even 90 or 120 days ago is a completely, totally different
Right.
freaking animal.
Right.
And I think we're going to see a lot of really, you're going to see a lot of weird stuff happen in automotive retail space here in the next 6 to 8 months.
I think that's 100% accurate. And that's part of why I was excited when we started this channel and why I started this, because it's like, I think we're going to get back to the car business, if you know what I mean. Like, I don't
You're
think for
gonna
the past
have to.
2 years we haven't been in the car business. And the guys listening that think that they've been in the car business,
know
those guys,
shit.
you don't know how to sell a fucking car.
Nope.
And I'm gonna tell you, I know that because I listen to these calls that I make. Man, I've made 100 mystery calls in the last month and a half, right?
Yeah.
And I'm gonna tell you, I can count on 2 hands how many of them were salespeople. I mean, how many were salespeople? And I'm not shitting on people. I'm not being like, I'm better than you, whatever. Listen, I got a lot of flaws, man. I made a phone call. I took a phone call the other day. This guy was wearing me out, right? Wearing me out about this, about that. This guy's, 2 hours away, wants to come buy this used truck. He wants to know everything in the world, and I'm giving him everything. And he called, and I don't know what was going on with me, but I picked up the phone. It was a Tyler number, and he said, hey, I want to talk to you about this truck, right? And I said, Bubba, I've talked to you about this truck about 15 times. You know what I mean? Like, I was rude, and that's not my character, man. I'm usually happy-go-lucky guy. I don't know what happened. Here's the problem. It was the guy that owned the fucking store that was calling me back. Like, not calling me back for all those other times. He was just calling back to shoot the shit. And when I picked up the phone, he knew it was me. He thought he'd fuck with me.
Oh, perfect.
And so it just happened to be another guy from a Tyler fucking number that had called me all these other times.
Yeah.
And I'm like, bitching the owner of the store out. I'm like,
Right
hey, man,
on.
listen, and he goes, you doing okay? And I go, yeah. I think I'm doing okay. And he goes, no, I'm serious. Are you okay? And I go, yeah, I'm all right. He goes, you want to go home? And like, do you need a day off? I love you.
Right.
Not like, hey, you better watch. He's like, you okay? I'm like, yeah, I'm great, man. I said, I don't know. I had a moment. I don't know what happened.
Yeah.
I said, I think it was just God trying to humiliate me to tell me like, hey, you're not perfect, man. You fuck up all the time.
Everybody does.
And when you fuck up big, Fusil. That was always my
Yes,
thing.
you do, sir. You don't do it in a small fucking way.
I break everything,
Yes,
brother. Yeah.
in half.
I'm
Yeah.
getting better, Dan.
It's
I'm
like
getting
it's like
better.
that Tommy Boy deal where he starts wrecking the fucking car into the lighter and shit lights on fire. That guy. Yeah, me too. I used to be that guy.
Yeah. I used to be too.
I
you
could
know?
explode something.
Yeah. Yeah, I knew how to set a meat
But
wagon
yeah,
on fire.
we're sitting here talking about the salespeople, but
Yeah.
the biggest deal is it's not the salespeople's fault that they don't know their ass
Agreed.
from a hole in the ground.
Agreed. Right.
You have dealers who've been, not all dealers, some dealers who are cashing checks bigger than they've ever made in their lives.
Right.
I talked to one guy, he's like, Dan, I'm not changing. I'm, selling marketing now. Nobody's buying marketing in the past 24 months because
Right.
dealers don't want to change anything. Nothing's broke. I'm cashing checks. I'm
Right.
making more money than I've ever freaking made in my life. Why would I fix anything? Well, here's what they forgot to do. Nobody trained on But, hey, welcome to
Fundamentals.
Carmelo Toyota. My name's Dan Dillingham. You looking for new, used car, truck, 2-door, 4-door, 4-wheel drive, 2-wheel drive, extra cab, regular cab? How many kids you got?
Right.
Where do you work? Who you gonna show you the car?
What are you doing with it?
first?
What are we doing? Yeah, who are you
Right?
going to show the car to first?
I
Right.
mean, it's-
Absolutely, man.
Everybody forgot all of those things,
Right.
And
Right.
they didn't train them, and now you got salespeople who, it's happening right now,
I'm
that
watching
have made a shit ton of money that are all of a sudden not going to make any money because they don't know what to do when a customer actually has an objection.
Right.
And you have 30 trucks to choose from, not one.
Yep.
And if you don't
That's
like
exactly
this
it.
one, sir, get the fuck out because he'll buy it.
That's been the game.
Right.
That's been the game. And that's what I'm experiencing on these calls, man. And that's what was so shocking to me. It was like, oh, wait, these people literally don't know what the fuck they're doing. And it's not their fault. Like I said, I'm not shitting on people. Look, when I was young, I'm going to say that these guys, there's guys in the car business that have been here 3 years that made 100, 150, and they're green peas. In the fact that when the car business converts as it's doing today, rates are rising, inventory's coming back, you know what I mean? All these things are happening. And now you got to be a salesman. Are you a salesman or are you an order taker or are you an opportunistic, closer? Right? Because there's that. That's kind of what these guys have been. I'm watching a lot. I'm paying attention. I know this blue one's coming in. I paid the tow truck driver $20 to tell me when he's coming and what's on there.
Right.
I got clever. I beat everybody out, but I never sold a car.
Yeah.
I mean, I delivered some keys to a guy and then took some money for him. And I never sold anything because I didn't have to compete with everybody else in the market because I was the only guy that had the black Tahoe Z71 or whatever. And so I think it's going to be wild to watch these guys have to learn the car business and suffer that humility and go through it. And I'm wondering what dealers are going to do. I'm wondering.
Well, I got some ideas, right? I mean, I think... shocker, I got ideas, right? I'm full of freaking opinions.
I love you, man. You're the best, dude. I love you, buddy.
You got a lot of you're going to have a lot of these mom and pop stores that loaded up in used cars, that are still loaded up in used cars, that now they're just absolutely foobarred in these used cars that are going to go out of business.
Right.
Right. I think you're going to see Sonic and Asbury and Mile One and Lithia and all those big giant companies are going to continue to grow the way they've grown, but probably faster.
Right.
I read an article a couple of months back to where 2021 was like more car dealerships were acquired than in any year previous to like 2015 or 16.
Okay.
And I'm making up the dates as I go along.
Right. In the heyday of Blue Sky and all that stuff back then.
But the second biggest car dealer acquisition was in that 2015-16, but you had Larry Miller and VT were both sold that same year. Right.
So it was a group.
You're taking 200 of them.
Right
there, and only like 315 stores were sold. When you start looking at 2021, like 680 stores were sold.
Right.
I think you're going to see the same thing in this 2023-24 era, just because people aren't going to be able to afford. If they took their checks and they cashed their checks and they did the right thing with them, which is let them sit there, maybe they'll make it through. But I think you're going to see these big groups swallow up a lot of these mom and pop 1-store, 2-store, 3-store groups.
Okay, so let me ask you an internal question people probably want to know. So what happens, let's say John Doe Ford, right? Literally dead on arrival Ford, right? In Bogota, Wisconsin. Right, gets acquired by Asbury. Sonic takes an interest in it, buys it. What happens to those stores? Does Sonic take that store over? Do they take that point, take their allocation into a bigger store? Like, how does that work from, pretend I'm a lay and I don't know anything about how this stuff works. Like, what's it look like?
Well, they're going to keep the point. I mean, once you get on a point and it's awarded by the manufacturer, I mean, it's yours. It's not, you're sure shit not going to close it down. Right. I mean, but you're talking about big groups that got bunches and bunches of money.
Oh, yeah. How many does Sonic have? How many stores do they have now?
God, I don't know, 200 and something. A bunch,
yeah.
A lot,
yeah.
And I think I'm probably way light when I say 200.
I think you're light there, yeah.
So,
who's the biggest? Who's the biggest right now?
AutoNation still got to be the biggest. I think you go AutoNation, Sonic, Asbury, maybe Lithia right there with Asbury in the three spot somewhere.
Right.
But I mean, those are your biggest players that are out there.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have a whole lot of privately owned groups anymore that are in that game.
Nope.
We already threw out a couple, Larry Miller and VT, both gone.
Right.
Those are history. Berkshire Hathaway, right? They got to be in the top
they're
10,
coming.
I would think.
Oh yeah, I would imagine. I think they're coming too. Right. Do they have it
Man,
figured
I
out though?
hear,
Do they have
you
it figured
know,
out? You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, they kept most of their VT operators, right? I
Right.
mean, you talking about, and I came from the school of VT, right? So I'm extremely biased when you come to,
Right.
when you talk about some of the best operators that are out there. And I'm going to tell you the best people that run car dealerships and the best people with process are going to be any Van Tile
Right.
homegrown guys.
Well, if
right?
you've
I
ever
mean,
shaken Larry's hand, you'd know why you're going to get the shit right.
True. Yeah. Amen.
That guy's not fucking around,
Yeah.
man.
So, but I mean, what do they do at the store? They're going to take it. They're going to try and grow it. They're going to try and make some money out of it. I mean,
Right.
But yeah,
Right.
they're not going to give away the point. Most of the people are going to stay. The owners go.
Right.
You know, they're going to bring somebody in from somewhere and make them a general manager and
Yeah.
see if they can make that thing.
Take a
turn
hot shot
profit.
GSM out of somewhere
Yeah.
and see if he can be a country GM, and then see what he can do, and
See
then
what
move him on
happens.
up. Yeah.
Yep.
Right.
But no, those points don't go anyplace.
Sure. It's just you know, the thing that I like, that I hope that comes out of this show, this channel that we're building is you know, I feel like and I know that there's reasons for it, but I'll tell you like this: I feel like as a young guy in the car business, or somebody coming up, or even a young manager when you get promoted to floor or finance or whatever, is that everybody guards all the information they can from you. You know what I mean? Like, nobody wants you to know sort of really like how this stuff works systematically, and it's hard info to grab. It's not like you can go to business school and learn like how does fucking car dealership work, right? Because
no doubt.
I mean, it's business, and those business school principles matter, but this is a different animal, man. It's like its own little unique breed of like species and life and thing. And so like, you know, you want to know these things, you want to kind of know how this stuff is, but you also need to learn, while you're learning these things, to compartmentalize, you know, what the future can look like, what these things are, not put that in your head and go out and take a check up from the next up before you take your next up kind of thing, and not get your dealer's license, as people like to say, you know.
Yep.
But it's good to know what's going on, so that if you really want a career path, like, hey, these are things I can pay attention to start managing that and to learn, and, you know, to navigate that ladder, you know. And I think it's always been so guarded, because you just want the car business is so just do what the fuck you need to do right now to go sell a fucking car and shut the fuck up, right?
Yep.
Because that's our business. Sell a car to now. Everybody in that dealership, with the exception of the GM and the owner, need to sell a car right fucking now.
Well,
you know?
remember, that's that sales manager who's telling that salesperson exactly what you're saying right now was told that by the previous sales manager who got fired, right? And that's the only thing he knows, because they said, hey, Steve, you're fucking fired. Hey, Dan, it's your job. Okay, well, that's what Steve did. So
Right.
that's what Dan's going to do.
Right.
And it's wrong.
It is wrong.
And that's what, you know, you start talking about where the car business is going and who people are nowadays, the lack of training and the need for training for 2023 is completely different, right?
Right.
I mean, I could sit there and rattle off like I did a minute ago, new, used, car, truck, whatever, right?
Right.
It's not necessarily like that anymore, right?
Right.
You need to bring customers in, sit them down, really figure out what their wants and needs are. Then, and most of them already know,
Right.
I mean, in this day and age, I think that's another thing that we forget is people know
They
more
got it.
than you do.
They know more than you. And
Yeah.
I tell people that all the time. If they want to ask me about a car, like especially something interesting, right? It's a Porsche Panamera or something, right? They're like,
Right.
hey, Steve, do you know what the blah 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 is on this thing? Is this 4MATIC? Is it, da 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 da? I just look at people and I go, hey, listen. I go, look, I am a expert at helping you buy things. I am not a Porsche technician.
Right.
Like, I don't know anything about this car other than I really like
It's
driving
really
it.
cool.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
Turns heads. I've sold a bunch of them. Nobody's called me back going, you son of a bitch, you sold me a Panamera. You should have known better. Right? Like, I mean, I just
Yep.
know that this car's worked out. I mean, and this is downplaying it to a degree, obviously. But I don't know the fucking horsepower on this car. I got 97 cars out here. Right? I'm going to sell 57 of them this month. Right? At 4,500 a rattle or whatever we're doing,
Yep.
you know. I don't have time to memorize the horsepower on every used fucking car. I don't have that kind of, I'm not smart enough to do that, right? But I do know that you know, because you've already looked at 15 of them.
Right.
I mean, you know this because you're the guy buying the car. You know what I mean? If I had a fish store, I'd know all about what kind of fish food this is, because that's a different animal. I'm specializing in this thing. It's not the same thing.
Well, that's what the data tells us in marketing now, right? So,
Right.
I mean, now that I'm into this whole, I'm you know, selling digital marketing, which
Right.
was totally freaking new to me a
Right.
year ago, almost to the day, right? So, it's the data tells us that people are looking for specifics when they go and do their Google
Right.
searches. They're not saying Ford near me. They're saying new F-150
Right.
36-gallon fuel tank.
Right.
Right. I use that all the time with dealers because I'm that buyer,
Right.
Because, you know, I hunt about 6 hours from here. I had an F-250, which a really good friend of mine who owns a Ford store said, Dan, you're a dumbass. Don't buy the fucking F-250. And I said, no, absolutely. I got to have it. I want big wheels and tires. And he's like, of course you do, stupid.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, you mentioned earlier you're 5'7".
Right. Yeah. I got to have it. I'm compensating for a lot of shit. So, you know, he says, you're going to call me in a year and you're going to say, hey, remember that conversation we had? I'm going to say, yeah. And I'm going to say, you know, I want that F-150 Platinum King Ranch. Send me one. So he sends me a King Ranch. Love the truck. Still driving it today.
Nice truck.
Dude, it's got 36-gallon fuel tank. I can get all the way to Ozona and halfway back home without stopping at a gas station.
Right.
God bless him.
Right.
I'll never buy another truck without one.
That's what you wanted. Because that's what you need. That's what
didn't
makes
know
your
I
life
wanted it.
right. But now you know.
Because my dumb ass, you know how I buy something. You want a King Ranch? Yeah. What do you want on it? Everything.
Right.
Well, what's everything? Everything.
Everything. How do they come?
And if you can add something on there, put that shit on there too.
Right. Do you have other shit? You got an aftermarket department that's got other shit?
Dan, it's going to cost you this much. I didn't ask you how much a fucking truck was.
Yeah. I asked you, do you have the truck with everything on it?
Everything.
Right. Right.
If you can put it on there, put it on there.
It's like a burger. What do you want? Everything.
Yeah. All of it. Jalapenos? Yeah. Fuck yeah. Avocado? Sure. Why not?
Yeah. You want an egg?
Down.
Yep.
Come on with it.
I said every fucking thing. Right. No, I mean, I get it 100%, man. Yeah, no, and it's fun. And so getting back to digital marketing, that's what you're saying is that people are hunting specifics, right? So, I mean, we're not searching for near me. We're not searching F-250 black. We're searching something specific. And as you learn, you'll type in.
F-250 black Lariat.
Right.
F-250 black Platinum.
Right.
Right.
And then maybe miles, and then maybe you know what I mean? You're putting the year specs in. You might be putting this in with a mile. You know what I mean?
You're looking for specific years. You're looking for under XYZ miles. You're talking about, I was talking to a great friend of mine, Joe Leonard, right after I went to work here. And he goes, okay, so tell me what you do so I can try and figure out, see if I can help you. Right. Because I mean, we're all trying to scratch
I sell
each
used
other's
cars,
backs,
babe. That's
right?
what I do.
So I'm talking to Joe and he goes, hold on a minute. He goes, so I just bought Kia a new car. Kia's his wife. And she wanted some special color interior or something. And he was up in D.C. For any D.C. dealers listening, it's Dealer Alchemist. Feel free to give me a call. But he says, hey, man.
Shout out.
He says, hey, man, she wanted the specific interior color. So if you were doing business with one of the dealers up here, I could have typed in Hyundai Genesis white leather interior, whatever it was. I can't remember the car. And the car would have popped up.
Yeah.
And I said, absolutely. I said it would have popped up because the way we build the ad is we literally take everything that's on the VDP page and it is included in your ad, and the ad will write itself dynamically based on the customer search, which means you're always going to be first. So if you said, I want to buy XYZ car and it's got to have a white leather interior because I'm the only company that's advertising white leather interior, and I'm not worried about price, I'm not worried about payment, I'm not worried about the shit that doesn't matter. Your car's going to be there. You're going to click on it. He said, man, that would have saved me fucking hours.
And what's more important than money sometimes?
Yeah, time.
Time.
It's not sometimes, it's all the time.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
All the time. But anyway, it's the car business is different now than it was then. We have to do things different as retail car guys, right? I hate to use the term car guys. Everyone, car guys, right? I'm a car guy. No,
I love
not,
that
right?
term.
Did you ever sell one at a time? Have you ever had to pay your bills selling cars? Have you ever had your freaking electricity turned off because you didn't sell freaking cars?
Then you might be a car guy.
You might be a car guy.
Yeah. Were you promoted because you got a DWI? You might be a car guy, right?
Right.
You know,
Never mind.
Now, listen, that's okay. In all fairness, I'm looking at the camera and I'm telling you, that's 90s car business, guys.
Oh,
Things are different now, right? No DWIs.
Way different. No DUIs now.
Hell no.
But yeah, it was kind of a prerequisite back then.
Well, not only that, but you had to have at least a divorce.
Or two.
Wait a minute. So wait a minute. Are you divorced? Yes. Do you have a DWI? I do. I have two. All right. You can't get another one. You're fired. But based on your resume here, I'm going to promote you to general sales manager.
Yeah, you got a job. Yeah, Johnny Mitchell back in the day, back at Carmelo and Toyota, standing on the lot smoking Marble Lights. He told me one time, he said, every good car guy's either in a 12-step program, was in a 12-step program, or should be in a 12-step program of some kind, right? Girls, drugs, gambling, drinking, something.
It's true, man.
Yeah,
I mean,
every one of them.
it's not true anymore because of the people that are coming to the car business. I think regular people, let's say.
Again, it's changing.
Right.
It's not the same, right? And here's the thing, because it's not the same, you can't treat your people the same. You can't, I already talked about one time, but he was famous. You'd come to the desk, man, and if you left off the model number, and the model, it had to be the model number. It couldn't be regular cab truck. It had to be 8100 or 8510 or whatever it was. Dude, he would take your shit and throw that thing out there in the middle of the showroom floor. And he says, "Motherfucker, they are hiring at the mall every day. Get out or get your shit right."
I mean, that's how we learned. But you know what you didn't do? You didn't bring a fucking folder up there without that stuff put on the second time. Because it didn't matter if it was Saturday at 2 o'clock and that place is chock full of people. Yep. It didn't matter, man.
You got paper flying everywhere.
It's funny how it was the same everywhere. Right. It's funny how it was the same everywhere.
Replace his name with somebody else's or mine. Right. I did the same shit because who did I learn from? From what he did. Right. That's what I got to do because it worked.
That's right.
But it's different, dude. People, we're hiring different people to come do this. It's much more professional than what it was before. I'm super excited to see what the car business does in the next 10 or 15 years, just because the different aspect or the different look that you have to have for the consumer and for yourself as a business, right? Because, I can remember when I was the new car director at the Honda store, as long as I had 65 salespeople, that was my only job in the new car department. 65 salesmen. Holy shit. Right. If you got 65 salesmen, Dan, you're good. It didn't matter.
If these guys were 20 car guys, 10 car guys, 4 car guys, didn't matter. You had enough.
We call them bumper blockers. Just stop them long enough till I can get there, right? Slow them down. Right. So nowadays you're really talking about, you got to start hiring the right people. You got to build the right culture. You got to have a real business model. You don't have to have pool tables and ping pong shit in the back like freaking Google, right? No. But you got to treat them right.
Probably shouldn't. Yeah. Right. Because car guys, if you want to call them that, are prone to fucking around, Right.
Yeah. So,
and gambling,
Pool, ping pong. I can gamble on all that. Dude, we played liar's poker standing out front, right?
So I got 4 sevens. I got 4 sevens. How many you got?
I think you and I played that during an install.
I got 5 fives.
But it's just different, right? So I mean, you got to hire the right folks and you got to train them the right way, and you got to give them, because people want to continue buying from the same people they've always bought from, especially today's consumer. You're not selling cars to me, the middle-aged white guy. No. I don't give a shit, right? But, I mean, you start talking about, I use this analogy all the time. You sell cars to my 22-year-old, my 27-year-old, my 20-year-old. Everybody is right here on the damn phone. It's all about instant gratification.
It's all about it.
Sell your car right here. I can text Steve. Steve, I want to buy my new car. I want to go online. Everything's got to happen right here. So
then and now.
Right now.
And happen right now.
Yeah. So it's a different animal. I'm curious to see how I got an idea how everybody's going to attack this, which is some stuff that I'm working on. But
okay. Interesting. We'll be anxious to hear about it. Yeah, we'll be anxious. Biting our fingernails to hear about it.
Right.
Yeah, I think back in the Ely days or whatever, it was exciting for me to be there, as it was for you and everybody that was there. Finney, Mark, all the Marks, everybody, Hugh, Julie, I mean everybody, right? And so part of what I really loved about that opportunity was the fact that I got to see the car business from another side. It's like shifting the angle, right? Well, here, speaking of shifting angles, have you seen the Martin Luther King statue that was out? Have you seen this, the unveiling?
I think so.
Okay, so from different angles, it looks like different things. That's all I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
And so,
I'm with you. Okay, I got it. Yeah.
From one angle.
Now I know what you're talking about.
Right. So we'll just let it go. But anyways, if you don't know, now you know.
Right.
Google it. But anyways, you don't even have to be specific about it. It'll pop right up for you.
The first one.
4,000
Just get on freaking TikTok, dude. It doesn't matter. It'll be there.
That's it. So, but I got to see it from another angle, and it was like, hey, wait, what does this look like? Because I was fired 15 times when I got in the car business because I couldn't hack it. I mean, I didn't know what I was doing, man. You know what I mean? And I had one manager that hung on to me for a while and took me under his wing, took me to his house, kind of coached me along, gave me some effort. And then, you know, he got fired. And then eventually I left after that. And then I had another buddy of mine that kind of pulled me into a note lot that was a big note lot in Austin at the time. It's called Credit Cars. A guy named Benny Boyd owned it. Benny owns a bunch of Dodge stores out in the Austin area, whatever. Wild business plan. He loves the note business. Benny's smart. He had the money. He's still noting out dually trucks. I'm talking about 80,000, 90,000, 100,000 because he's out in these country areas.
Yep.
And he knows those families. He grew up out there. So he'll note those trucks out. I mean, he'll have 50, 60, 80, 100 trucks out on the street at any time, noting them from a new car store. Just, you know, but they're country folk. He knows where they're at, you know, and he'll go get them.
There's a lot of money in note
Oh,
cars,
God.
man.
Benny
Holy
made
cow.
so much money. He sold his business. He had four note lots and 4 note lots. And Tom Penders, who was the basketball coach for UT, used to do our ads. And he'd say, if you got a job, you can get a car at Credit Cars. And he'd catch a basketball and all this, you know, whatever.
Yep.
Anyway, so I learned a little bit of the car business there and then kind of learned a little bit about how to sell because it wasn't so intimidating. I wasn't selling to Dan Dillingham and his wife when I was 18 years old. I mean, I had a guy tell me one time, he looked at me, I had him like an $800 payment on a Suburban or something, you know, short-term financing. That's the way the bank recommends it,
Right.
you know, some kind of nonsense shit. This guy looked at me and he said, let me ask you a question. He said, how much is your fucking rent? And I looked at him and said, like $530 or something, you know, and he said, you're asking me to pay $890 for a fucking Suburban? You know, you know, he was pissed.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, anyways, I'm sure I didn't sell that guy a car, but, you know, anyways, I learned. So
You do want to build equity in your vehicle quickly, don't you, sir? I mean, shit.
hey, listen, it's just what the bank recommends,
Right.
sir. I don't know. I'm just telling you what my boss told me and what his boss told him.
21. Look at me. I'm fucking smart.
My fucking, I got 2 different colored plaid ties on, sir. I know exactly what the fuck I'm talking about. These boots are polo, sir.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Corduroys, bitch.
Fucking
Just
green
look.
corduroys. So anyways, man, so note lot, then and I learned, but it was like you got to see these things from another angle. And part of what we learned is that oftentimes in the car business, and this is something for everybody to remember, man, you got super performers that became what? Supervisors.
Of course.
Right? So it's not that these guys are managers by nature. And I was resentful at a Chevrolet store I was at because I was up next. You know what I mean? In my mind, I'm up next. I'm the next guy. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Selling 25, 26, 28 cars a month in, month out. Have been for 5, 6 years. Everybody loves me. CSI's in line because, you know, you could buy it back then. I'll be honest.
Nothing but a tank of gas, bro.
Fucking $99 pack, sir. You can have gasoline or window tint, whichever one you want. But if you bring me that survey, I'll get you either one you like, you know. And you know that, but that wasn't every customer. You know, it was the ones you knew were rough. But I guess I probably shouldn't be telling these secrets, but
Or all of them. Yeah, whatever.
Standard pack, yeah. But anyways, it was like, hey, you learned, and it was like they'd hire guys that weren't car guys, and I was like, this guy didn't. You know, this guy's a fucking A&M grad that he's somebody's brother. It's nepotism, and now he's in the game. He's in F&I, and I hated these guys for this because they bring them in, you know, but I didn't realize what business was, you know, and how this stuff worked. I just figured I'd hustled my way into the gig, you know, and I did hustle my way into the gig, and so did you. But these guys like didn't get it, you know, didn't know what was going on, and it was resentful for it. But what I learned was there's like a whole nother avenue and ways to look at this stuff. And so these guys were better managers than I were. You know, they were more mature.
Sure.
They were more organized. They were more prepared, like on a life level than I was, you know. And so that's a thing for everybody to remember. If you're on the floor and you're hustling and you think that you're next, you know, maybe you are, maybe you're not. And if you get skipped, maybe take a look at yourself and why you got skipped, right? What are you not exuding for those people that they need to see, right? Because it's not all about the car deal. It's not all about the hustle. Because like you said, all your job back then was to what? Have 65 salespeople.
Yeah, that was it.
Right. If I went away, the store's still going to sell 800.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
It didn't matter.
Right.
You might not sell 820,
Yeah.
but you're still going to sell 800.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, you sit there and talk about that guy, and man, my freaking ADD kicked in full blown just then.
I love that.
It's like, boom, squirrel. Shit, I don't remember what I was going to say. Keep going.
No. I mean, that's it. We were talking about just experiences and what dealers are going to do. And you said you were working on, you know, there's things that you're going to be working on in the future. And I said I was excited to see it. I think that's the last thing I remember.
Yeah, no, but we were talking about sales guys, and we had something about the salesperson. But the salesperson, here's what it was: is you said something about I'm up next, right?
Right.
Whoever, if you think you're up next, that's fine, right? You can always think you're up next. But here's what I'm going to tell you is be the freaking obvious choice, right? Selling the most cars, if you want to be the next guy up, selling the most cars does not always make you the next guy up, because you might have some stuff going on that don't make you the next guy up, right? You might have some bullshit. You might come in late. You might leave early. You might go to lunch and not come back to work because you think I'm selling 25 cars or I'm selling 30 cars so I can take a shit on my manager's desk and cover it up with my hat, and he doesn't care. Yeah, that's true until it becomes time to be the next sales manager or the next closer or the next ASM or the next F&I guy, whatever it is. So be there early. Early is not on time. Early is 15 minutes before everything fucking starts.
Right.
Right. Don't be late for meetings. I mean, there's a whole lot of shit that goes in. I had that this morning,
that was
right?
That was the tie on the fly guy.
Tie on the fly
Tie
guy.
on the fucking fly guy, man. I remember we were
I told that story in forever.
Oh, fuck, man. Tie on the fly guy, man. That was me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I thought I had it all figured out because I produced. And I always fucking produced.
Every month.
And
month in,
month out, didn't fucking matter. People loved me. I had referrals. People came back. My service department loved me because I knew how to fucking work. You know what I mean? I knew how to work, but I didn't know how I worked. Like, I didn't know what the fuck I was doing as an adult. You know, like, I just didn't know. It's not just about having some friends that are in high places, because those guys love you and they want you to come drink with them. But when you leave, they're saying shit like, God damn, I wish that kid get his shit together.
Yeah.
I'd sure fucking love for him to fucking.
I'd love to see what he could do if he's not doing this.
If he just get his shit together. And they tell you.
Yeah.
But you're not hearing it. You know what I mean? You got to listen. You got to really listen to the things they're saying. Like, you know, they're, you know, and I didn't listen often.
It's funny you bring that up. Man, I got this guy that works for me right now. He's got more talent in his freaking little finger than both of us do combined. Right. But he can't get out of his own fucking way. Right. I mean, we talked about it this morning, late for a freaking meeting. Right. I mean, it's goddamn. And, you know, I'm on the phone with him. I'm like, dude, working with you is like freaking amateur hour.
Right.
You know, I don't get it.
Right.
Right. I mean, if I got a meeting and it's raining, I'll fucking sleep there the night before.
100%.
Right? I am not going to be late.
100%.
That dealer may be late for his meeting, which 95% of them are.
Fucking fine.
Yeah.
That's his call.
It's his story.
Right. I need his money. He's my guy. I'm waiting on him.
I'm going to be there.
But he ain't waiting on me ever. Yeah.
So anyway, just, you know, be the obvious choice. No, and the obvious choice doesn't mean you got to sell the most cars.
Right.
The obvious choice means you got your shit together. You're not tie on the fly guy. For tie on the fly guy story, I got to tell that story real quick, because not unless you've told it on here before.
I haven't.
Everybody, when we say tie on the fly guy, everybody who's been in the car business a long time kind of gets it already. But that's the guy that's running into the Saturday morning meeting or the Friday morning meeting or whenever the hell you have him with his tie in his hand. He's putting it on in the back of the room, or it's halfway done when he shows up, because he just doesn't have his fucking shit together.
Just can't pull it together.
And
man.
he might sell 25 cars, and probably does.
That's why he feels like he can fucking run in there with his tie in his hand for the Saturday morning meeting, sit down up front, because when it's all said and done, everything's going to be forgiven at 3 o'clock because he's going to have 2 out.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And there's still maybe 1 or 2 more to come for the day. The day ain't over for him.
Yeah.
You know?
Or if you're working for me, you will sing "I'm a Little Teapot" and do the fucking dance in front of everybody else when you're late. Promise you.
I've seen it. I'll tell you one of my favorite stories, man. We did this every. You know, look, people ask, like, after all these years of me being in the car business, people say, like, well, what do you love about the car business? I'm like, well, let me ask you a question. Did you ever play sports? And they're like, yeah. I mean, did you love being on the baseball team? You know what I mean? Even if you didn't play, like, did you love being on the team? Did you love those fucking guys? Did you have fun, you know, playing the hit you game and all this shit, the grab ass, you know? I'm in a professional grab ass business with 10 of my great friends for however long I work with them, you know, because there's 5 guys you love, you know, and there's 10 guys that you respect and whatever else, but there's 5 guys you fuck around with. You know, and you're talking shit, you're having fun. It's like sitting on the bench at a baseball team, man. I mean, it's like being in the locker room. Now, it's gotten much more professional, you know, but you're sitting there with your boys. It's like being at a hunting lodge. You know what I mean?
It's still the greatest business in the damn world.
I fucking agree 100%. I'll tell you a story. So we created this deal when I was at Monday. If you got to go, man, let me know. I know we're coming up on 54 minutes, so 56 minutes.
As long I got till about 10 after.
Okay, cool. So, at Monday Chevrolet, we had this thing.
I was actually looking where I was scratching my armor itch.
Did that happen on the table?
Yeah, I'm suing.
Oh, fuck. Okay.
Sign,
Well, listen, here's the great news.
I didn't sign a waiver when I came in.
So listen, here's the great news. We
What's
don't
your
have any
attorney's
insurance.
number?
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah, 478 jail. Call that guy. 478 jail.
Yeah.
That's
I do like the table, though, dude. You put
My
a
wife
lot
made
of work
this.
into this. Oh,
My
she
wife
did.
made this table. Yeah, she made this table, and it worked out great for us. So it's been fun, man. How do you like the
It
studio?
ain't going nowhere. No, it's fucking badass, dude. I
Yeah,
can't wait
thanks,
to do
man.
this again.
Yeah, it's great, man. I love it. Put a lot of sweat into this thing. It's had a lot of iterations.
This is just like being in a car dealership. I'm just sitting here shooting the shit with my friend with some weird shit on my head, and
That's
I got
what
to
we're
talk
hoping
really
for.
close to the fucking microphone.
You sound great. You sound like a fucking natural. You know what you look like you ought to have is a fucking sports show on AM 690. Just talking shit. I'm Dan Dillingham. Let me tell you the problem with the fucking Cowboys is their
Right.
kicker. You know,
Right.
like, let's get this son of a bitch in a rope. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
I can see it coming. I can see it coming.
Or per Greg Greneker, I need to be a televangelist. So we'll figure that shit out.
I don't think there's a difference. If you're on AM radio, you're a fucking evangelist. You know what I mean? Yeah. You're going to talk
dude.
the Republican Party, the Dallas Cowboys, a little bit of God, and a little bit of anger, man. You got yourself a recipe for an AM
we're gonna talk
channel.
about golf and hunting too, dude. You can't leave that shit out.
No, can't leave it out.
I
Can't
will
leave
be.
it out.
I will be the middle-aged white guy radio station.
I love that for you, brother. I love that. Hey, listen, everybody needs a fucking dream. all
Right? Yeah, that ain't it. But I would do it. It would be fun.
Oh man, we had a tradition. I'll get back to this. We had a tradition at Monday Chevrolet. So when you would come on, doesn't matter if you and what I loved about it is everybody did it. And I don't know where it started because it was there when I got there, and I did it after everybody left. Right? You try to carry it on to a couple other stores, it just never quite worked. But this place had the energy for it. Right? It was just upstairs meeting, first Saturday morning meeting. Doesn't matter how long you've been in the car business. When you come in, we say, hey, listen, we got a new guy. His name's Dan Dillingham. Dan, do me a favor. Come on up to the front, introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about who you are and where you're from, you know? And everybody get up there reluctantly, you know, oh, fucking I do this thing, you know? And you get up there and stand up and you go, hey, I'm Steve Fusil. I've been at, and simultaneously the entire staff yells, fucking sit down, you know?
That's awesome.
And as you go to sit down, you're like, oh, you got me, right? And you're embarrassed, you're upset, you know, whatever. As you go to sit down, the GM would grab you and you go, Dan, come on, man, fuck, it's just a game, you know, come on, seriously, tell us who you are, man. You'd be like, all right, like I said, I came from Vandergrift, and simultaneously everybody goes, sit down, and but the GM's in on it, everybody's in on it. Yeah. We had two people just up and walk the fuck out that second. Like didn't make it one more minute at Monday Chevrolet. And we all thought like, yeah, that's why we do this, right? Because we don't need that fucking guy here trying to sue me over my table.
Yeah, right. So, no shit. Amen. Like my table, get the fuck out.
You know, like my table, get the fuck out. So
yeah.
But we also had a tradition where if you were late on Saturday morning, you bought breakfast for the staff.
Okay.
And we had a IHOP across the street from us, and we'd all sort of taken a liking to being fat, and so we decided that we'd all
still there.
Yeah, we like sampler meals from IHOP, and I don't know if you know anything about samplers in the '90s, but that runs about $8.65, $9 a rattle. Times 75 salespeople, you know, new and used, plus managers and, you know, the sales secretary and everybody involved.
Everybody gets to eat.
Everybody gets to eat. So we'd all just fucking beg for some asshole to be late on Saturday. And I was late every day of my life to work except for Saturday. You remember the repo sales we did?
Yeah.
Everybody did back in the 90s.
Yeah.
You know, those traveling teams come through and rob everybody
Repo,
or whatever.
Slasher, all the no shit.
Whatever. They come and do cocaine on your desk and rob you.
But yeah, I get it. Yeah, no comment.
Yeah, skip.
Yeah.
Hey, fucking
fast forward.
Skip. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, anyways, man, we had this repo sale going on that had lasted, I think, like 5,000 days. It seemed like. I mean, it was like 20 days in a row because it was going. I mean, and we were killing it, and so we just kept extending. Well, those days are bell to bell, right? Ding to dong. I mean, 9 to 9. You know, whatever. Well, Saturday morning meetings are 8:30. So we've been 9 to 9 for like 6, 7, 8 days straight, whatever. And I'm like, fuck, man. So I get up 7 o'clock. I was never late on Saturdays. I get up 7 o'clock, and two things happened that day. I get up at 7 o'clock, and I remember eating cereal with my son. He's about 2 years old. I'm feeding him cereal. We're having a great time watching cartoons, and my wife comes out, ex-wife now, and she says, babe, don't you think you need to get to work? And I was like, fucking 9 o'clock. Got to be there at 9 o'clock. I live 3 minutes from the store. Literally, I'm 2 streets over from the store, right? So I get 9 o'clock. I get 15, 20 minutes, you know. I mosey my ass up there, and I start walking into the store, and I see everybody standing around the corner of the dealership, smoking cigarettes, eating, you know, doing whatever they're doing. everybody's fucking giving me a round of fucking applause, you know? And I walk up and I'm like, man, whatever you guys are up to, fuck you, you know?
Right.
Like, I don't know what your fucking problem is already. I got a 9 o'clock meeting to get to, and so do you, right? I got a 9 o'clock fucking sales meeting we got to get to. So I get up, I start walking by the tower, and he's like, hey, we got you or something, you know? And I'm like, what the fuck is going on around here, man? They're like, hey, brother, you just missed the fucking Saturday morning meeting. I'm like, no, man. Saturday morning meetings at 9 a.m., buddy, 9 to 9, next 15 days, you know? And he goes, no, the Saturday morning meeting is at 8:30, which you've been well aware of for the last 10 years you've worked here. You know, I just trick-fucked myself into thinking it was right. So I bought an $875 breakfast, and everybody went ham on me, you know, extra sausage, extra, you know what I mean? So, but that same day, we had this guy start. His name was Arlen Metzger. And shout out to Arlen Metzger, man. I love you, brother. This dude played ball for Terrapin, right? He was a linebacker. Kind of built like you and me, but about 6'3", 270. You know what I mean? Like a little fat, but this guy he'd pick up a fucking refrigerator and hit you in the head with it one-handed. You know, he's a psychopath on top of it. And he'd worked for Alfred Flores in Austin, and he came to work here. And this guy wore the Jeffrey Dahmer glasses on top of it. He was kind of balding and thinning, and just a wild dude. And he stood up in that meeting that I missed, and he was like, I want to know who's number one here. Who's number one? Because I'm taking your spot. You know, this crazy proclamation of like anger and energy, you know? And everybody's like, God damn, what's wrong? You can have it. You can have it. You can have it, dude. I don't want to battle with this fucking dude. So I didn't know this. So after the meeting, I went out and smoked a cigarette as I used to do in those days. And they were like, hey, that's the new guy, man. He's, you know, did this whole thing. And we're laughing about it, you know? And so he's got a customer trading in a Suburban on a Geo Metro. I'll never forget this. And we're like, this guy's out of his mind, man. You know, the guy wanted to lower his payments, had gas problems, all this shit. You know what I mean? So he's going to put himself in this car. That deal did not work, obviously, right? Because he's 10 grand upside down, thinks he's going to lower his payment.
Yeah, Metro didn't even cost 10 grand.
He fucking negative equity was higher than the price of the fucking car, right?
Yeah.
So we're sitting there, and he goes, I go, hey, man. I go, he's walking by, and he opens the door for his customer. And as he's doing that, the guy starts walking in, and I go, hey, everybody, like, watch out for number one, you know, like that. And Arlen Metzger, I'll never forget this, dude. He opens the door, and he goes, sir, if you just take a left right there in the second office, he goes, I'll be right in there. And then he turns around like this, still holding the door, and he goes, if you ever talk to me like that again, I'll rip your fucking head off. And I go, I start laughing. And I go, look out for number one, you know, or whatever. And we went head to head for, I don't know, the next 5 years. You know what I mean? It was fun. But anyway.
Right on. I get it.
The old car business.
Dude, yeah. Yeah, but the car business ain't the car business anymore, brother. It's, you know, but I like I said before, though, I'm really excited to see what the car business is going to do over the next 3 or 4 years, right? I mean, the car business is going to, I think it's really going to evolve, and it's going to fast forward. You're going to have a lot of shit that's going to happen that's going to be different than what we've seen, right? I mean, it's even the training and the things that go on and the things... The type of people that you got to hire. That's plenty, bro. Thank you. The type of people you're hiring and how you're hiring them and the training classes that you put them through and how you're going to train, right? I think you're going to see you're going to see AI involved in training. You're going to see mobile apps involved in training. I mean, there's going to be, you know, again, everything that everybody does nowadays, you think about training. I mean, my 22-year-old, I mean, if you bring her into a freaking sales room and try to train her like we were training people 30 years ago, literally it's been 30 freaking years, right? And this year, I mean.
Literally, I've been doing this 27 years.
It's, you know, that it's not going to work, right? You got to know who they are, how they tick. I mean, you're going to end up blowing out folks if you don't. And then the way we train them is going to be different, right? You're going to have a lot of training right here on your phone.
Oh, so I agree with that.
Some things going to happen that's different.
So I guess part of what I'm thinking about, you mentioned AI training people, and I think like when you start talking about ChatGPT and stuff like that's coming out, right? Like, and I played around with it a little bit. I don't know if you've been on that. Do you know what it is?
Nope, no clue.
Okay, so these guys have built a software that essentially is going to change the world. I mean, it's already changed the world. It's one of the fastest growing tech companies in the world. Like Google is tripping. Like the fact that this thing exists, right? You can type in code words. Like, for example, if I didn't know what I wanted to do on this show or what kind of intriguing questions to ask you, but I wanted to have a podcast, right? I could type in, I'm a podcaster, guest is 27-year veteran with this resume. What 20 intriguing questions should I ask a guy like this? something to that effect. I mean, literally that
Right.
specific. You can specify down to these ideas.
Sure.
And then this fucking software goes in and writes literally like the most comprehensive set of questions that anybody would ever think about asking that are like intelligible and easy to manage. You know, like people are writing their term papers on this shit. College like professors are tripping because it's unique every single one. It's not like oh, this is the same term paper that Dan turned in 3 weeks ago. It's totally unique because the code searches that they're, I mean, it's 100% intuitive and does its own thing.
And it's Chat GBT.
GPT. P with a P like Paul.
I'm
wild,
curious
man.
to see that deal.
Yeah, and so like, what does that mean for the car business? And like, look at what Ford's trying to do, and the direct-to-consumer model that Tesla's trying to pull off, and this bullshit the guy that Ford's trying to do with, you know what I mean, like kiosk sales. And I mean, it's coming, right? But where do the people stand in there? Even if I mean, let me ask you a question: is it possible for the dealers to be shut out? Is it possible?
No way.
No way.
Not completely.
Right.
Right. I think that you got some of the manufacturers going to give it one hell of a shot, but it's to completely shut the dealers out and make them a service department hub, basically, or a delivery space. I don't think that ever happens. Right. I mean, Tesla's given Ford the delusions of grandeur and some of the other manufacturers, and Ford's a great company. Right. I get where I understand what they're trying to do. Yeah, a lot of stuff I should keep my mouth shut on.
Fair enough. Do you? I mean, that's reasonable. Do you? Here's the question: Do you think people really hate car salesmen?
No, not at all. I don't. I mean, hell, car salesmen are all my best friends in the
Correct.
fucking world.
Right.
So,
some of the best people I've ever met in my life. Give you the shirt off their fucking back.
Yep. Do they really hate car salesmen? No. I mean, I think they hate what some of us used to do, right? I mean, did they hate us 30 years ago? Probably.
Sure.
Did they have reason to hate us 30 years ago? Probably.
Sure.
Right. We did all that. But again, now it's totally different. Now you're talking about a new salesperson. You're talking about a new consumer. I mean, you're not selling cars to me. You're not selling cars to you. You're selling cars to 30-year-olds.
Right. I buy cars. Nobody sells me a car.
Right. Well,
I buy a car.
Too.
Right. That's what we're saying. Right. I mean, for people that don't understand what we're saying, like, well, what do you mean? Where do you buy a car? I buy a car.
Yeah.
Nobody's selling me a fucking car.
No.
I'm calling you, telling you I'm in. Here's where I'm in at. Let's go. Write you a check. Let's go.
Right. And you got a lot of the people nowadays that are doing the same thing. I mean, a lot of the consumers are just like that because, again, we talked about they've done all the research. They know what they want. They know what the interest rates are. They're already pre-approved. They know what your money, they know what, they probably don't have money factors on a lease yet. God bless us. We still got that. But, there's so many things that the consumer knows nowadays. It's, when I was training E-Lead and I'd be in a store and a customer would call on the phone and they'd say, hey, give me your best price, or what's your internet price, or, hey, I want to pay invoice. And, I'm not telling you that over the phone. I'd look at the dealer 10 years ago and go, or sales manager and go, why not?
Why not?
They already know. If you're not going to tell them, they're going to hang up the phone. And what are they going to do? They're going to call the next guy, and the next guy's going to tell them the only thing you're
100%.
assuring yourself of is you're not selling them a car.
Right. The only thing you've guaranteed is that you've lost a customer.
Period.
For sure.
Yeah.
You've made sure that customer won't buy from you, not now, but not ever.
Right.
Because they're not going to change their mind 20 years from now, because they're going to remember, oh, that's that fucking place that wouldn't even help me.
Right.
So,
the only people we were relying to was ourselves back then, right? But nowadays, they're
trying to hold on to the past of something that didn't exist anymore, and how much of that is happening now. Like, I mean, obviously, you're bringing new technology, new ideas, especially like you said, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And you're trying to tell people, hey, man, predict the future. We were talking about navigating the path of being a salesperson and becoming a professional. It's the same fucking thing for a dealer.
But look at websites. Websites are the same thing nowadays on anything, right? Like if I'm looking for a new boat and it says call for price, out.
Nope. Nope.
Any place I go, call for price.
Nope. Nope.
Next website.
Even worse, when everything's listed but the one thing.
Right.
Right. Every fucking car is listed.
Only what I want.
Right.
That doesn't have, amen.
I know what you're trying to tell me when you say that, and so does everybody else. You're not telling me a price because you're trying to knock my dick in the dirt.
Well, that too, right?
I mean, which is fine. Knock my dick in the dirt. But just let me know up front.
Let's get it over with.
Yeah, let's get
right.
Let me decide whether I'm going to let you do that or not.
Yeah, exactly.
Listen, I'm well aware that the things I like to buy, oftentimes I've learned over the years, don't buy nonsense. Right? I've spent so much money on shit that didn't work long term or wasn't the right thing because it would save me $50 or $80 because I didn't quite have the money. My buddy David Lorenz, right? You know David.
Yep.
I learned this from David. Great guy. I love David to death. Taught me a long time ago. He's like, why are you buying this nonsense? Like, why are you buying the speaker on sale for your car? He's like, you want these fucking, Rockford Fosgate 314s.
Right.
Right. You can't have them today. You can't have them today. You don't have the money for them today. Your wife wouldn't let you buy them today, whatever the case may be. But you're buying the wrong thing. And you're going to be pissed off about it. And you're going to spend the money again for those Rockford 314s or whatever I just made up.
I still do that.
See, I've learned, don't do it. I buy the right gear, like all this gear in here. I mean, I bought some wrong things because I thought it was the right thing,
right.
and it's an accident. I wasn't trying to be budgeteering or whatever, but like this little machine here that switches these cameras, there's not another thing that does it better. And I know that. And it's like, I'm stupid. Right? Like you look at all this, you're like, oh, this guy's doing some impressive shit.
No, you're over there clicking on buttons and shit, dude. It is impressive. Like,
appreciate it. Thank you.
I'm like, man, he clicks that button and the lights light up on that shit. Yeah, that's pretty good, Steve.
I got some cool shit going on, man.
You've come a long way, dude.
Learning to be a fucking adult here, man.
You got all kinds of colors on those keyboards over there.
Yeah,
Holy
they do
cow.
some cool stuff,
I'm
man.
not touching any of that shit. It'd never work again if I put my hands on it.
Well, it's what you're saying. It ties back into this because I had a friend of mine did audio video, right? Before I did any of this stuff. And he was, he did some commercial stuff for me and, he'd shoot these things for me and stuff at another company. And I'd look at this shit that this dude have. He'd pull out a bag of fucking wire. I mean, like a baseball bat bag, full of just wrapped up cables and stuff. And I'm looking at this and I'm like, how the fuck do you know what to do with any of this shit?
Right.
There are 45 different kinds of things, and you know where all this shit goes? And this is a map of hell to me. You know what I mean? Like, and now I can look at that bag and I go, oh, you want some help setting this shit up?
Yeah,
like,
I got this. Get out of my way.
Yeah, get out of the way. I got it. And it's no different with sales and with training, like you're saying. You got a rat's nest of customers that are looking at you every day that you're talking to, and you're like, what the fuck do I do with these people? Right? Because they're all different. The personality types, who they are, their information, their source, their background, what their experiences were at the past car dealerships, what they want their experience to be like here. You got all this shit you got to bundle up. And then the bottom line is you got to sell them a fucking car. Right?
Well, you don't have to sell them a car. You got to sell them the next car and the next car and the next car. And you got to do service and service and service. And then you got to sell their sons' cars and their daughters' cars and their wives' cars and their friends' cars. Right? It's because it's no longer, again, we beat the shit out of this for the last hour, but it's not 1993. People aren't getting in the car with their consumer reports and going to 3 or 4 different stores until they find the best deal or the best salesperson or whatever we wanted to say back then. They know what they want. They know where they're going. They want it to be convenient. Right? So they're going to go to the closest place frickin' to them that has what they want. And then it's all, how does the dealership as a whole treat that person? What happens during the transaction? Because that first initial transaction with that buyer dictates everything else that goes on. Period.
That's it. It's the end of the story. Listen, man, I know you got to go. This has been a hell of a lot of fun. I want to respect your time. Yeah, we'll do this many times. No. We'll do this many times. Do you want to give a location of where people can find you if they want to talk about Dealer Alchemist or improving their training programs, improving their outlook as a dealer, talking
absolutely.
about, give a shout out to that camera right there. And we'll give it directly to you.
Y'all, as this thing's starting up, NADA's this weekend. We're super excited. It's in Dallas for the first time ever. My phone number is 229-630-8942. Dan.Dillingham at dealeralchemist.com.
Listen, I want to give you a great shout out for giving me an NADA ticket. I really appreciate that, Dan. You fucking asshole. Cost me a fortune to get to NADA this year. But guys, guess what? I'll be there. I'll be at NADA Live. I'll be at the booth. I'll be at all the other booths. We're going to look at all the marketing companies. We're going to talk to all the hottest trainers. We're going to talk to all the hottest products. We're going to talk to a bunch of dealers. We're going to embarrass some people. We're going to make people wear funny hats. We're going to do whatever the fuck I think I can get away with, which is usually a fucking ton.
No, he can. Don't worry about the booth number. I'm sick of looking for it.
Don't worry about it.
Come see me. Dan Dillingham, 229-630-8942. Thanks, y'all.
All right, man. Peace out.